there, Jeremy.
Well, hi there, Doug. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I can see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you, Doug. You're looking good there. You got a quite a lovely setup going on over there. Professional podcaster you are.
Yes. Maybe we'll get to see that in a future episode.
That's the idea. You got to get me to your level of professionalism, and then we'll be absolutely rolling on YouTube and flying for the next section. So that's really in the plans, everybody. We are going to go video, but right now it's still audio. But Doug, so lovely to see you. Lovely to hear everybody on the podcast. So hopefully you're all listening and enjoying the last episodes. And we are flying with this new season. So we've got some cool guests lined up. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm really happy to be back recording the podcast with everybody. So brilliant stuff. All right. So, Doug, I think we did a lengthy intro the last time. We covered Geneva. I don't think there's much to talk about now. It's just our next guest, really, isn't there?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So our next guest is Armand Billard. We will find out. Doug will learn how to pronounce it properly, and then he'll go for it. And he's a lovely chap who I met recently in Geneva at the show. And we added his collection to our store offerings because I feel that strongly about it. I think it represents incredible value, and they're beautiful. And I'm wearing one right now, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm keeping it. So there you go. So anything else you want to add before we get him on?
Yeah, well, rate and review right now before you you do anything else.
Should we wait? Should we put the Jeopardy music on and let people go and do their thing? What do you think? All right. So, yeah, if you can rate and review, it really does help. Helps other people to find the podcast. And please share right now with friends of yours who you think might be interested, and help spread the word. Because people who do find the podcast, they do seem to enjoy it. And they tell me they go back and they listen to previous seasons. There's a lot of great episodes with guests you may not think that appealing to listen to, but you get into them. There's some really great conversations we've had, Doug. I've listened to a few of them actually back again. And one of them is one of my dear friends who actually told me, it was actually Sig Schonholtz, one of my very dear friends. And he never listened back when we originally recorded back a few years ago. But he said his daughter listened to it, wanted to listen to it. And he never really wanted to. But he said, all right, he would do it with his daughter, who is old enough now to really appreciate. And he said he really enjoyed listening to it. And he called me and just told me how much he enjoyed it. And it really made my day. I really enjoyed it. That's cool. So it was really fun. So anyway, Doug, let's get Armand on and let's get this new conversation going. And I'm really looking forward to this episode.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Well, welcome Armand Billard to the Keeping Time podcast. I hope I didn't butcher that last name too badly, but welcome. I'm here with Jeremy. I'm Doug, and welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Very good. Thank you very much, Doug. Thank you very much, Jeremy, for bringing me in. Very happy to talk with you. The relation between Oster and Sartory-Billard is quite new, so there is a lot to talk about.
There is indeed. Welcome, Armand. It's been lovely knowing you. I've known you nearly a month now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Actually, we day by day. Pretty much.
Yeah, indeed. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you. So, I think I may have mentioned on the last podcast on the intro, Doug, remind me, did I mention that I had no intention of adding another watch line and I had no intention of picking up your line, nothing at all. It was just one of those lovely, really pleasant accidents that seems to happen in Geneva occasionally. So it was a lovely treat. And for those who haven't listened to the last podcast, first of all, I'd like to know why not. But anyway, let's get to this one. So I'll share with the listeners, I was in the show at Geneva, and they have a separate show kind of outside of the main hall, which is called Time to Watches. And I walked around there, and I was actually looking for a particular vendor I wanted to go see. Somebody told me to go check them out. So I went. Anyway, I saw your table set up, and that's really what it is. It's a table set up along with other people in a very large room, and it's just really a very sort of casual atmosphere, isn't it? I mean, do you enjoy that kind of atmosphere where it's just less formal and, hello, how are you, that kind of thing?
Yes, pretty much. We are doing this in this place downtown in Geneva for 3 or 4 years now. I think, I guess the first years I was doing this a little bit as a pirate. You go, you just like grab a table at the bar or in the hall in the entrance and be there and look around. And then after the year after, I just had a table in one corner, and the venue was really packed with other brands. That was last year, 2024. So I was visiting like January 24 and or even late 23, and the manager of the place said, "Oh, everything is booked. The Hotel de Beau Rivage is packed with all the brands, but there is this one big room we don't know what to do about, but nobody wants it." And he pushes some doors, big doors, and there is this huge room which is like, as you saw, like 200 square meters, something like this. And last year we said, okay, I'll take it, and that was the beginning of it, like really showcasing the watches in a very formal aspect, with tables and setup and stuff. Last year, that was really big, only for myself, because I was so late that I had the only possibility to get the room. So I shared it with Deluxe, a brand, a strap maker. And then the manager of the place was very, very nice and said, okay, for 25, we want the room again, but we'll organize it a little bit differently. So we had like almost a year to cherry pick the brands that we want to have in the same place. So of course we had Studio Underdog, them because we did like a collab together, and we had a bunch of other brands that are all into the independent kind of small business, direct owners to watchmakers, to collectors, and that was an amazing flair. I mean, this show was just great. Like, we had 1 week of very, very good business, good fun also. That was very, very good.
Cool. Yeah, that's a cool room. If I remember right, I think there were four people in that room that I work with, which was cool. So that shows how much I love the independents, because obviously Deluxe, as you mentioned, so we do a lot of straps with them. And Felipe Pacalic was there, of course. And I think between Felipe and Deluxe, I got a cold from somebody on one of those two tables, I'm pretty sure, because a lot of people in that room were sick. I think that was the sick room, I'm quite honest. I'm going to be honest about it.
I'm lucky. You
got lucky. You were in the middle then. Okay, you were next to the door where the airflow was. So and then the other side was Louis Erard. I remember that, correct. Who obviously we work with, and I forget who was next to Louis Erard. But anyway,
and Berens.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I'm going to mention to you a real compliment. I really didn't know anything about you, didn't know much about your company at all, but I've always admired your watches whenever I see them pop up on Instagram. And I just thought your designs are always strikingly beautiful. I've always looked at them, and I always thought, I just really liked them. I just really, from a personal standpoint, I thought aesthetically you get it so right.
Thank you.
What it told me before I'd even met you was that there's probably one designer behind this brand who has an amazingly natural eye. And that's what it told me, because every piece was different, but there's a real consistency to the quality of the design, which is not evident with a lot of brands today, because you have different designers working on different projects, and some don't. So that was a real testament. So when I saw your product, I just wanted to go take a look at them. And really, my intention of meeting you was just to congratulate you on your product and thank you for it. That was my only intention. Now, part of the reason that was my only intention was because I assumed your price point was much higher, because I look at the quality of the dials, I look at the work, and I'm assuming this is another high-end independent brand. And I was right. You are another high-end independent brand, but with a uniqueness about it, and high-end does not necessarily have to mean high price. There's a big difference here, isn't there?
Yes, it's correct. So first of all, thank you very much for the compliment, and I take it like it's very heartwarming, because I'm a designer by education. Must be no mistake. I'm not a watchmaker by education. Like I've been learning the work that the craft that I'm doing today just by errors and trials and things like this. And I didn't go to any watchmaking school, and with my former job, I was the owner of a design consultancy agency in Paris, I was, of course, naturally attracted by the aesthetic of objects, everything. And when I discovered watches, maybe, I don't know, 20 years ago, I bought like very, very humble pieces because I didn't have the funds, but I just, picked them because they were just appealing. Like very simple watches. I remember probably one of the first watches was a Skagen that I bought, like some Danish brands. It's a very pure design, very well, the line is very pure. And then when I started to like watches, the first real watch that I bought that gave me the virus, I would say, is the Cartier Santos 100. Because I discovered a watch that is, I think, like absolutely beautiful on this aesthetic. Proportions are great. The story is great also behind. We all know the story. The first watch supposedly worn on the wrist, etc. But I discovered that within 16 square centimeter, I'm sorry, like, I don't know, 4 inches, maybe even, I'm bad with the conversions there. There is like a whole territory of design. And it goes like from generic or the main aesthetic of the case, the broader appealing design of the case, to the smaller and smaller and even the smallest details inside. And it's like a layer cake, and you go like layers after layers. And I really, when I had the chance to sell my design agency exactly 10 years ago, I made a switch to watchmaking industry, just by pure gamble, I would say. I said, look, I did consultancy in the design for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. I can't even remember. But I was only producing, I don't know, like 3D files, paperwork, Illustrator, Photoshop documents, but never produced something that is you can hold in your hands. And I found that watch would be something that very suit me because of the design appeal, because of the delicate aspect of the design, all the details. And it started like this. It took 5 years before I got to be noticed amongst the collectors. Quite quickly, I found a very, very big interest in doing bespoke watches. Over the last decade, I would say, I've even a shorter period of time, maybe the last 5 years, I've done probably 1,000 of bespoke watches. Means like one watch is basically different from the other. And because I have no formal training in watchmaking, this has learned me 2 things: to have the basic skills that I must have with my hands to assemble some watches, rely on amazing suppliers, and also knock on the doors to people who are much better than me and will provide a better work that I would do myself. And when you pile this all, you can have a watch that has a very strong DNA on the design, because this is my work. I'm the designer. Watches also that have a very strong uniqueness in the dial design, because I would choose with my customer this kind of dial, this kind of guilloche, this kind of colors combination, etc. And I've been doing this successfully, where you can have parts and relation with the supplier, that you can have parts that allow you to propose watches at a very fair price point. We're not talking like €500 watches, but we're talking $5,000 watches, give or take. But for this price, you can have like something that is, I guess, extremely well made, with a lot of thought, a lot of heart, passion into making. I make the watches myself. All the SB04E range, I'm making them here. And yes, when I decided in 2024 that I should change a little bit my orientation to be allowed to work with retailers, that was quite an easy switch, because I had all this design language and all the experience and the knowledge of how to make a watch, what is difficult into making a bespoke watch, what is the good route, what is the good process to make a watch, the assembly, the quality, the good suppliers. and here we are today. Like I didn't know how the year would be. 2025 would be working a lot with retailers. I mean, a lot, like with retailers, which I never did before. But we are first days of May, and I've been moving more than 100 pieces this year already.
So, Armand, tell me, how many pieces do you typically produce in a year?
Around last year, it was a little bit over 200. I have good reason to believe that this year that will be a little bit more, but I don't know how, and I'm not really running after the quantity. I'm more running about after the quality of creation. And anyway, I'm working alone for the SB04E, the models that you know, that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And for the SB05 or other pieces, I'm working with some very good watchmakers in Switzerland. So anyway, the so far the bottleneck is probably the cap would be 300 something.
Yeah, well, you've already done 100 this year. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's very surprising. That is so surprising that you're the first to know. My bottleneck is the wood box, because at the beginning of the year, like last year, I ordered some wood box and say like, okay, that will hold like 6 months. Perfect. Like, let's order 100. It's already expensive stuff. And I have to store them also here. And I'm out of boxes. So I have to call the wood maker and say, I need new boxes, and say, yeah, but I can't make like as quickly as it's not done in 2 weeks. So I need like a month and a half, something like this. And at the same time, I refine a little bit the design. You've seen the previous box, like very classical, like top lid and stuff like this. I'm moving forward to the former box that I have for the ranges last year. There's a little bit more long box, like a pen box, I would say, where the watch holds flat, but with some straps and places underneath to put an extra strap and paperwork and stuff.
Nice. Your presentation is beautiful, I've got to say.
Thank you.
So I've been wearing one of your watches because I want to show it off, for one, in the store, and for two, just because I like to be able to get a feel for the watch and see what it is. And the sheer beauty, I just honestly can't stop looking at it. It's beautiful. So for anybody playing along at home, I'm wearing the Petersite dial. So Petersite is a natural stone with what you call the platinum finish surround on the minute track. And what strikes me about your watches is there's a strikingness about it, but it's never loud. It's details that invite you to look at them if you want to. If you want to enjoy just the pure pleasure of looking at your watch, it's like an open invitation anytime to notice new details. But if you just want to tell time, the hands are perfectly legible. Everything about the watch is such a beautifully balanced project that it just gives me great, great pleasure. It really does. So this one's going to stay on my wrist for a while, I've got a feeling. So this is a limited edition of, I believe, 50 pieces in the Petersite dial, correct?
Yes.
So we received 2 from you, and I think they were the first 2 that you shipped out anywhere, right? I think no. Oh, the first 2. Okay, so I thought they were brand new. I thought I was getting special treatment, but no. Apparently,
you have the special treatment. You have the two ones.
2 of 1. Okay, I feel very privileged. But what struck me is when you look at them side by side, you can see that it is natural stone. It's an addition of 50 pieces, but each one's a little different, isn't it? The stone creates this uniqueness. It's really like a series of 50-piece uniques is the way I look at it.
Absolutely.
Which is a lovely, lovely, lovely feeling. And the casework is lovely. Everything about it, to me, is flawless. The crown, everything works perfectly. And the movement is lovely as well. And it's a great quality movement. Yeah. And what I see is you're just offering a quality that is so far ahead of just about everybody that I've seen in this price range. So, and again, we're talking about 5,500 roughly USD for a pretty special piece with a unique stone dial. And I think that represents a hell of a good value. And the movement is a superb Swiss automatic, Le Jouperet, isn't it?
Yes, correct.
So it's a movement made by other brands that I carry and know. I can see it in watches that are twice the price. So the movement's phenomenal. It's probably the best movement, I would say, in this kind of category.
Yeah, today, yes.
I don't think there's anything better. You can get away with a slightly lesser movement, which I'm not going to mention names at all. But this is definitely up there with, for me, saying this is all about quality. So really well done there. But I want to go back to kind of your origins a little bit. So I'm very curious. So kind of reading about it, you started the company because you kind of wanted to make a special watch for your birthday. Was it your 40th birthday? It was a big one?
Absolutely. I'm 50 this year. So do the math. I'm started 10 years ago. So that was like 40 years old. It happened that by a matter of luck, I sold my design agency 10 years ago, and at the same time everything piled up. So I bought myself a couple of nice watches because I had like a little bit more funds that I used to have, and also that was a good switch at the moment that I sold the company and had a little bit of, I would not free time, but like less hassle on my shoulders. So I started the company at this time. Yes, exactly. For
Okay, so that first watch you created. So first of all, what's the relationship with Ludovic?
So Ludovic is a friend of mine, Ludovic Sartory, and he started. It's also from 75. So when we celebrated our 40th birthday 10 years ago, the conversation started in a very French way around a bottle of red wine. Why wouldn't you make like a watch? You are the designer, you have the network for part making in a very broad way. And then I said, yes, that's a very good idea. And when we had to register the company in France, it's very, very easy to do business and to register a company. Very, very low funds you have to put on the table. And so we got to the bank and to the lawyer and accounting and stuff like this and say, how do you want to call the brand? And said like, well, Ludovic Sartory, Armand Billard, Satory-Billard, done deal. And that was like, we didn't give much of a thought, but after all, it makes a lot of sense. It sounds really good. And even if Ludovic left the company 5 years ago because he's in IT, and he was not so much into watches. He really liked the first project for our mutual 40th birthday, but after a while it was not a big interest for him. And on the contrary, I changed my whole life and my whole business just to do watches. But I kept the name because, and there is also a funny thing is that Sartory sounds a little bit, there is the English name Sartorial, probably butcher the pronunciation, but it's a way of dressing. And when you go to Italy and you want to see like a shop which is a sartor, it's a bespoke tailor suit maker. So it kind of fits, so I kept the name.
Well, that's what I always assumed. I didn't really realize until I started reading that there was an actual Mr. Sartori. I had no idea. I just thought it was I just really liked the name, to be honest. I thought it was very clever. It tells exactly what it is, but it doesn't say sartorial, which is a little bit kind of ego. It's Sartori. It's kind of like, to me, it was like a more casual version of sartorial, which I liked. And it kind of sums up the approach here because they're very playful but elegant watches. So they have a sartorial way about them, but they don't take themselves too seriously or challenge you to have to wear a three-piece suit to enjoy it. Yeah. You can enjoy it any which way. So I think it works out perfectly. So really well done with that. So then the first piece, of course, so what was that first piece that you made for your birthday? What was the birthday watch?
That was called, at the time, RPM01. RPM because it was inspired by the car world, with the apex and the curves, and that was a very bold shape for the case, like very large, 10 years ago, like very large case with a very, I would say, donut-shaped case, sort of. And then, yes, that was the first one. Then the second one, the SB, I changed then the name for SB, like Sartory-Billard 0234. I'm very, very creative on the name. But so the second one had the possibility to change the bezel to different colors, because I already felt the urge to change something on the go on the watch, so it feels more personal. Then the 3 was presented to Baselworld, and immediately followed by the 4 that bring attention of the watch collectors community, with luck, because you always need you need 2 things. You need very hard work, like 90%, and few percent of lucks are always good in business. So I get to meet during Baselworld at the time in 2018 and 2019 some collectors, and especially one, Hammer, the aka the Orophile. It's the guy behind the brand Colloquium that is quite known today. And he really liked the watch. I was presenting a watch with a blue titanium dial. I got myself passionate about titanium and the oxidation of titanium. And then he ordered for him and some friends a purple one. And that started all, actually. It really ramped up from, I don't know, first year, maybe 10 pieces, then 20, then 50, then 75, 100. And it's like...
And then it took off from there. Well, I got to tell you, when I was looking at the website, that first piece, the paraboloid, is that what it says?
Yes.
The paraboloid Apex RPM. I just thought it was so cool. I really thought, yeah. And there was a very cool, I was wondering where you were coming up with the name for that, but now it makes sense, especially with the Ducati exhaust on the wall behind you, which people can't see right now. But there's a Ducati exhaust on the wall. So that tells you a little bit, alongside the guitars, of course. It tells you the kind of person we're dealing with here, and a fun person for sure. So you're always challenging and you're looking at different things. And I love that aspect. So there was clearly a drive there. And it amazes me that you've kind of gone from that first piece, which you can see on the website, everybody. So if you want to go to the website address, correct me if I'm wrong, Sartory, so Sartory -Billard. So BILLARD.com.
Correct.
Okay, so there we go. Doug, you can pronounce it so beautifully, of course, but we'll save that for later, maybe. And so the new collection really this year, was this collection designed purely to work with retailers and to kind of make a little more approachable collection and a more streamlined away from purely the bespoke?
Yes, I would say maybe not retailers 100%, because you won't design a watch for retailers, but so the SB04 ran for 5 years. And the SB04 with 1,000 of bespoke pieces every single watch was a prototype, I would say. It takes a lot of time to do, but that was my way to learn, even keeping the prices to the same price point. Some watches were extremely difficult to make, and I put myself also in some very tight corners, wanting to create watches that are full polished titanium, full dial case, all polished. Like, it was a nightmare to assemble. I would chase the dust for hours and hours and hours. And polished titanium is very, my level of stupidity there shows where there is only 2 brands today that can provide polished titanium oxide dials. This is De Bethune, my master of all, and myself. Because I guess that everybody that goes in this direction lose their sanity. This is De Bethune has put his level on polish and oxide titanium to a level that, because I've been doing so many, like we're talking maybe 300 watches made of titanium dials, so I really know how it works, but the level of quality is immense. The price also reflects that. But I could propose like polished titanium dial watches for a fairly good price, and that was my way to learn watchmaking, to learn it the very, very hard way. And after 5 years, I say, okay, that's good. I've been doing my thing. I've been learning, I think, a lot, not in theory, but just by practical. And now it's time to redesign a watch with everything that I want the watch to embed. Some people would call me a little bit stupid to have been waiting 5 years to do so, but for me that was necessary in a way that I have to explore many things to say, okay, this I like, this I want to explore, this I don't want to do, this the customer will like. And there are like some elements that came onto the watch. So today the SB04E is designed to be very, very efficient on the building. The quality of every element is extremely controlled. And for example, there is something now that you find in every Sartory-Billard watch, is that the dial is partially made of sapphire. So the indexes, the numbers, whatever it is on the SB05 and the 4E, it's not laying on the dial. It's laying on a sapphire disc that is floating above the dial. And I'm doing so because it gives me the flexibility to have any kind of dial underneath, guilloche, stone, wood, you name it. I will be always able to put the hands, put the sapphire, put the indices, and in case of I don't know, checkup, after sale service, etc., that the watch can be separated very easily, and you don't have to touch the dial, and you don't have to scratch the parts, etc. So it's really a watch that has been created with all my experience on the ability to do some series, like the stone dials that you are enjoying today, but also bespoke pieces with the same level of quality. I don't know if you've seen today the latest post that I put on Instagram today. I did a watch for a collector that is a full Brazilian opal dial. I mean, I can grab it.
I'll take a look right now.
So we're talking like a piece of raw opal from Brazil that is the egg of opal at this size of gemstone. We call it like basically like a chicken egg size. Extremely rare, extremely valuable, but I get to cut it and to put it into a dial, and this is just absolutely insane.
It's magnificent. So with this one, you don't have the differentiation of the minute of the whole hours track around the edge. Instead, you kind of have this see-through, so you can actually see the whole of the stone underneath it. Yeah, different aesthetic, but you still get that kind of delineation of the functionality of the watch, which is really wonderful. So you never lose sight of what that's about. Yep. Again, the details are just exquisite.
There is a lot of little details. For example, the fact that the hour markers. So there is like this baton that are diamond cut indices applied on the 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, and to the uneven numbers, it's a Y shape that is pad printed. It's also filled in with Luminova, so it's glowing at night. It's also a little brand signature because it reminds of the visual signature of the Tower Eiffel in Paris. I was raised and born in Paris. Right. Actually, I was born in the same arrondissement of the Tower Eiffel, few meters away in a small hospital close to the Tower Eiffel. So it's kind of a reason why there is this Y shape on the dial.
Makes sense.
Yes, so there is a whole process and a whole thought. Like I want to make one watch with one set of hands and one type of movement with a very special fitting of the height of the tubes for the minute and hour and second hand that is made for me, because it's much higher than the normal watch. Like a standard dial would be, 0.3 millimeter of thickness. My dials are about a millimeter of thickness in the middle and probably 1.4 under the hour end, the minute hand. So it's very, very different. But at the same time, I'm keeping the watch very thin with 10 millimeters. So I have to play like all these levels. I have to play an overall thinness of the watch, 100 meter of water resistance, a lot of little details like I said, like, I don't know if it's going to work. Yeah, it does work, actually. Like the Luminova that you will find on the front. Also, Luminova you will find on the crown. It's
all right.
Funny. So, Yeah, I'm stacking a lot of little details, and like one detail that I love very, very much, two details actually that I love very, very much. First, this is the concave bezel. Concave for two reasons. The first one is that, on my point of view, it gives a better reflection than the round bezel, and also your watch stays clean much, much more longer. Because if you have a round bezel, every time that you're touching anything like your desk, whatever, all the scratch will go on the bezel because it's round and it's protruding. When you go on the concave bezel, you have the same kind of reflect because it's just the geometry is inverted. For your eye, it's basically the same. But if it's like this and you touching anything, you're just touching the edges, but you're barely never touching the inside of the bezel. So it's always stay clean. So on the long term, you have a watch that is scratchless, on the much more long period of time, even if you are like me, super brutal with the watches. I'm the worst owner of Sartory Billard watches. I'm doing everything that you shouldn't do with. And the second detail is the little separation between the lugs and the case. You always have this little notch between the case and the start of the lugs, and it kind of make the lugs a little bit floating away from the case. So they are very short, and I'm using curved spring bars and curved straps. So it fits very tight. And even if the watch is 39.5 millimeter, you can wear it. If you have a 16 millimeter 16 centimeter wrist size, let's say average woman, I don't know how many inches that would be. 5, 6.
I don't know. America's a funny place because obviously millimeters and centimeters don't really play very well here, and they don't know anything about how to even translate a centimeter to a millimeter in general. But ask any watch collector and they can visualize exactly what 39 millimeters looks like, what 40 millimeters looks like. It's the only measurement that Americans know how to use on metric. And they are so accurate with it. We become trained with it. So it's quite interesting that.
So so this is a watch that works on 16 centimeter or 6 inches wrist size because of the very short lugs and this kind of little details that makes the watch.
It's a great ladies'
playing
watch
a
as
lot
well.
with visual cuts, so the watch looks thin, and so the watch looks a little bit smaller, but still has a big presence on the wrist.
So let's talk about that real quick. So as a retailer, I can tell you exactly what Armand is saying. I've seen so many watches that when they have a bezel that's quite wide and flat, they'll look scratched before customers even tried it on. I mean, it's incredible. They become a magnet. And I always think there's, I shouldn't mention brand names. I'm not going to other names, but there's one very famous brand, and they always do a lot of wider bezels that are very flat. And I've never understood it because it never looks good once you get out of the showcase. It just really doesn't when you start to wear it. So I love the fact that you appreciate that the ownership experience is the most important thing. It's not getting it out the door. It's getting it on the wrist and keeping it on the wrist and making sure that customer's very happy. So I love that. Other details that really strike me, and I'm curious about this, the construction of your dial. So now you've kind of talked about the different layers and the depth. Now I can see there's a few real benefits to that. So one of the parts I love is that inner ring that goes, surrounds the actual central part. It's a little bit thicker than you would typically expect. And that enables you to put this incredible polish on it that you look at it from an angle and it's strikingly beautiful. So my first question is that ring a whole separate ring that is then applied to the inside of the outer dial, or is that all constructed as one piece?
It's applied on the sapphire. It's so we're talking about the ring that is inside the cut of the sapphire ring, and I'm using very, very much the diamond cut tools for the indices, for the edges of the hands, and for this part. So you basically, so this is mounted on the lace, and you have a tool with a diamond and pure diamond that is cut to shape, like it's 45 degrees, and then you approach like this ring that is made of brass. And you don't have like a spinning on your tool. It's just like laying still, and then you will spin the ring around, and it will make like a perfect polish cut, like a chamfer. Yeah, a chamfer, perfectly polished. And I'm contrasting this with a very small satin circular brush on the flat area on the top. But we're talking like 2 or 3 tenths of a millimeter. But when you get to have the watch and that it's playing with the light, it's always catching some lights and some shadows. And then you have the depths of the sapphire that will have the indices display shadow on the dial that is underneath. The one version you have as a platinum coated minute ring under the sapphire, and it's not circular brush. This is sunray brush with a fumé, so it's quite complex. So we have like a satin brush, so sunray brush, platinum coated, and then a slight black fumé on the outside. And as a result, it gives you like a very three-dimensional effect, a little bit like if the surface wasn't flat but was like bowl shaped, because the light is catching and playing like this, and you will have also the indices like dropping a little shadow on top. I really like that the customers like will lose time, and I'm sorry to say efficiency at work, if they're in front of their computer and looking at the watch and say, oh, I haven't seen this.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I keep looking at it. I look at it very, very frequently, and I truly enjoy it. And the crown has such a good everything about it. So anyway, let's kind of move on, because the crown,
big subject,
important.
Like there is 2 big subjects that are usually left aside, but I
go ahead,
put them like, I don't know to say, like under my arm, and fought with them. The first one is the crown. There are too many watches where you just can't turn the crown. And then big brands, like very, very prestigious one, they're just like a pain to because they make this tiny, very delicate crown, and it's very flat and small and very into the case. And I'm sorry, like I have like big hands, and we do have like bigger hands. And if you can't twist the crown, roll the crown, and it's very frustrating, and it's very like a pain point. So I'm always working with a little bit larger crown that can surprise the customers at the first sight, but when they're using, you have like torque to wind the movement.
Yeah,
the torque is big enough. It's a screw down crown, so it gives like the absolute water resistance that I'm looking for.
It's also easy to screw down. Some you've got to really get it right. You've got to push it hard and turn, and you've got to get the coordinate. It just works perfectly. But the other thing I noticed, and I'm keen to ask you about this, is a lot of times with a larger crown, especially when you've got these kind of lines going through it, the finishing on it, the edges can be very sharp. And I find oftentimes they can irritate the top of my hand, especially because I wear a watch very low, because I always want to see it. I never want to hide my watch. I mean, why would you? So anyway, yours is very smooth on the edges. Do you do some extra steps to ensure that the comfort of it on the hand is perfect?
I'm using so the crown has so there is a chamfer at the beginning of the case, so the crown really sits like inside the case, because the case has a little bit of a recess, so it goes like recess in the case and chamfer on the crown, so it will apply one into the other. We're talking like maybe a tenth of a millimeter, but you don't see. I hate also when you see gap between the crown. You see, you have this very round case, and then you have the crown like this, and you see like a lot of empty space between the crown and the case. I really hate this. Visually, it looks very weak. So
just to explain to people a second, hang on. So when you say the gap in the case, I think you're referring to the middle of the case, the kind of the line goes around the edge. So it's the middle of the case in between the upper bezel and the lower case back. There's a slight recess there. It's very subtle, but it really, so that's what we're talking about with the strap.
It's a 10 of a millimeter, but the crown, when it's screwed down, it goes there, it's contact there. Then you have a first chamfer to goes out of the case. You have a large part. If I'm not mistaken, the crown is 7 millimeter in diameter on this model, or 6.5 or 7, I can't remember. With 24 grooves, so you have a very good grip. And then you have a big chamfer and a flat area that is also polished and brushed. So the contact with your skin is is not sharp. I mean, it doesn't have to hurt your skin. You don't want the crown to cut your skin when you're always bending the wrist like this. But it's very, very tiny details. But I don't know. I've been okay. So this is probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's probably the 8th model that I'm making, even if it's named SB04E. E stands for evolution, so evolution of the base model SB04.
All right.
I've been doing every time an iteration of the crown, but so far this is the one that I love the most.
Very comfortable. Yes. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to point out for people listening, and I love this because okay, so we got the watches last, I think, Thursday. We finally received them. Yeah, they got held up in customs for a while. Wednesday or Thursday, finally got them. I put them in the case Thursday, and I had one customer who came in immediately, and he'd heard me talking about it on the previous podcast episode we did. He came in, and as you know, we ordered the tantalum for him, and he was really keen. He was really enjoyed looking at the watches, but he's somebody that wanted to see the watch in person first, which I totally get, and he loved it. He loved it. Put it on. I was surprised he had the willpower not to walk out with the Petersite dial, but he decided nope, he really wanted the tantalum dial, which is pretty stunning. So great. So we ordered that from you. The next day, Friday, lovely chap came in who loves watches, and he was really looking for a gold watch. So he ended up buying 2 watches because he fell in love with the Petersite dial. So he ended up walking out with 2 watches. And yeah, very, very cool. And both independent brands as well. One of them was an Armstrong. So I'm gonna shout out because he got, in my opinion, 2 of the coolest possible watches you can buy. And they were really, really exceptional. So it was really, really fun to see that happen. But it was great for me to see the immediate reaction from a customer that had never heard of your watches. He didn't come in to say, I need to see Satory-Billard. He came in kind of with more of an open mind, but that mind was no way made up to buy something like your watch. Not at all. Saw it, loved it, put it on, had to have it. And now the point I was going to get to is we also fit the watch with the rubber strap that comes with it. Well, it's an option. And that transforms the way you can wear the watch. So yes. This is a beautiful Ostrich strap, which I'm really enjoying. But for the summer, a rubber strap is ideal. And with 100 meters of water resistance, you really have a year-round watch that you can wear elegantly with a suit in the winter, if you like, and wear it with a pair of shorts at the beach in the summer. So really offers great. But the main thing I want to say is, again, this comes down to the usability and you understanding, and I get where you come from because you want to wear the watch. And I'll bet you put on a watch yourself and you will be the most critical of your own watch. And you probably look at it and say, I want to improve the crown, and you will do that. So what you've done with the straps is quick releases on the rubber, on the leather, quick releases so that the customer can get the most flexible enjoyment out of their ownership.
Yes, they have like some amazing leather strap makers. Okay, you know that I'm working with the lugs. So the watch accepts 20 millimeter curved spring bars straps. I'm working on the integrated rubber strap that will really come very, very close to the case and close all the gaps. Sorry for the editing and the cutting, but I need to rub it.
If you're listening on audio, people, which everybody is, Armand is going to grab another watch to show us. So here we go. Excited to see this. This is the strap. Okay.
This is a prototype. This is a 3D print of the strap. So you see like lovely Sartory-Billard logos inside, the Y shape on the outside. And
so it's a little thicker up at the top of the lug where it'll fit the case perfectly in that recessed gap between the top and the bottom.
Because I don't have my glasses, of course.
And then the deployant that comes with it, the customer that purchased on Friday, he loved the deployant. It's a spring-loaded deployant made by D-Lugs again. And it really just has that level of quality that it just feels very solid, doesn't it? It really works nicely.
They're making a very, very good deployant buckle with this spring-loaded, spring-activated. I'm not going to make it. Am I? Yes, I did. Okay, nice. So this is the, you see?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the new strap now. It really fits into that recess between the upper bezel and the lower bezel, that tiny little gap.
And you still have the little groove on top.
Yeah,
that flows into the lugs. So this is the next subject that I'm working on. So on the strap, because like I really admire the lugs on the way that they say like straps is also part of the lifestyle of the watch. I really play with this. So you have rubber straps. I'm working on this integrated version that will be, I think, like really nice looking, because it gives like a totally different flair with a very integrated rubber. And also I put in production metal bracelet. So by June, there will be a metal bracelet for the watch, brushed on the side, central polished link, and half link, so you can adjust it, and then triple deployant, like something, I would say basic, but super efficient on the bracelet. I've been also trying numerous metal bracelet. I really don't like the Rolex kind of buckle that is big and chunky on the back. Personal taste, I really don't like it. I've been trying a lot of also quick adjustment, extendable kind of links. I did this. I wasn't ever convinced by this. It has the tendency, if you have a little bit of a rough lifestyle, if you're moving around, it extend without your consent, I would say. So I don't like it so much. So I'm working on the watches, working on the straps. Have you seen the pin buckle also?
The one on this one, the beautiful shape to the buckle.
Yeah, this is like also little details. Like how many watches that are like on 20, 30, 40, so you name it, and they have the most generic buckle.
Yeah, I agree. You want to be able to see what your watch is from the underside, and this one does it beautifully.
Do you have? Can you show it? This is the one with the logo shape. Yeah. I think this is this kind of details that puts a lot of value for the customer. So this is the brand logo as a pin buckle.
You can see it really has a great look, and on the wrist you can see the shape. I got to say the comfort of your watch is superb. I tend to be, for some reason, and this is always going to happen with some watches, I'm a little bit in between holes with you.
Yeah.
In that one's a little loose, one's a tiny bit tight, depending on the day. But I find I'm wearing it on the looser side, and the balance of your watch is very good. So that's a real testament that I feel comfortable wearing it on the looser side, and I don't feel like it wants to turn on me. It stays really nice. So I find it's it actually sits nicely on the wrist, which is very important. It's very light.
I think the head of the watch is around 60 grams. So it's really on the light. I have to check this. I don't have my micro scale. Yes, it's there.
Yeah, it's very comfortable.
Yeah, it's. I don't like. I can't remember. Like I have. Oh, I have Maurice Lacroix. Constant Force Gravity. It's a watch that is 10 years old actually, and the watch is very high, so the center of gravity is a little bit higher, and you have this buckle that is, a deployant, but only on one side, like how they're using. The watch is always turning on my wrist.
Yeah. You know what you can try with that is, if you can with the strap, reverse the straps. Sometimes I find that works. So you change the angle that the curved part works. But anyway, you don't need to worry about that with your watches because they're very well balanced. Well, so good news, bad news here. The bad news, two bits of bad news, really. One is that we're kind of running out of time. Second bit of bad news is there's a whole big conversation that I wanted to have with you, which we couldn't have today because we ran out of time. So the good news is we're going to have to get you back on for another podcast, probably this season, because I want to talk about the incredible tourbillon movement and the whole project you've done with that incredible watchmaker who I'm very keen to learn more about, Matthew Klegger. Is that how you pronounce it? Anything close?
Absolutely.
So really interesting. So that you're working with a very strong collaboration. And one of the things that's really struck me about it is your transparency in the process. And I guess Revolution Watch has been fantastic with their articles on this as well. So you've really got this great technical. And again, on your website is a whole section on this movement. So I've learned a lot from there. Today, I lost a lot of time just studying through this, learning about the repertoire. And the watchmaker, I'm very interested. Does he speak English, by the way, Matthew?
Yes, he does.
Okay. I'm going to have to get his contact info from you as well, if you don't mind.
Yes, I will.
Because he'd be a great one to get on the podcast. So he's a watchmaker that's worked with, well, a few different watchmakers, you most notably recently, or right now, currently, but also Akrivia on the AK06. So there's a lot of interest for our listeners, I'm sure. But that movement is fascinating. So I'm going to save that for the next conversation. Is he? I want to hear about that a lot. I want to hear a lot more about that.
Very good person to have you on the podcast, definitely.
Well, let's wrap this up. Now, do we want to talk about the project you and I are working on?
Oh, yes, you do have a video.
Okay, I have a video. Okay, I'm not going to share it on this yet. I'm going to keep it I'm going to be a little less transparent than you are, but I will put out there that I kind of challenged you to do a guilloche dial on tantalum, which is a real challenge. So it's looking pretty good, I'd say. So today Armand sent me a video of the first kind of go round. And again, this is a testament to your approach. You said you want to play with different kind of angles and how you can play with the light more to get different shapes of cut on the dial. But the actual pattern we stole from a watch that I'd created for a customer years ago, a Gronfeld Repertoire. And it was a bespoke Kari-Voutilainen dial. And that provided the inspiration for the center. I thought it would work well with your tantalum. And your drawings you did immediately, and the rendering looked amazing. And the dial so far looks fantastic. So I'm really excited about that. So in short, we're going to do a special exclusive Oster watch with a guilloche tantalum dial. And the idea of working guilloche on tantalum is pretty mental, isn't it, really?
Yes, it's I've been exploring tantalum. Tantalum has been around for decades, but in the last years, also with the SB04, I was the first one as a very, very small brand to propose tantalum cases a few years ago at a crazy affordable price point. But because I was learning at the same time, we were making the cases and stuff. I'm still doing this, and as I said, I was working a lot with titanium dials. And when I met the new SB04E, I said, I have to find like a concept dial that I can't rinse and repeat titanium again. So I slept on it and I said, I'm going to make like tantalum dials. And then actually you can dig around. There is no offering with tantalum dial. As I said, I'm taking a bet now that they will start to flourish, like give them like a year or something like this. But I've been proposing the SB04E, like the one you sold to your customer with a tantalum dial. So also the fumé and the sunbrush and the texture inside that I do myself with the tools here. And the next step was to do something that hasn't been done so far, is the guilloche on tantalum. It hasn't been done because tantalum is a very weird metal to work with. It's very soft. It's very hard, but very soft if you are looking at it on the angle of a CNC machine or a cutting machine. But bringing it with a guilloche dial is very, very interesting for two aspects. First of all, the novelty, the fact that you have no offering on the market with a tantalum dial and the tantalum guilloche dial. And the second, it's because of the beauty of the metal and the material. You don't need any paint, because usually if you do a guilloche of I don't know, gold, you would put enamel inside on top. If you do a guilloche of brass, you would put a color like a PVD or a lacquer or whatever. But if you do with tantalum, you have to let the raw metal express itself. So the first cut is very promising. We are also exploring for you to see in the next days different type of motif, the design, to see the one that will play with the light the better. And I think we are on a very good way to propose this for Oster and Oster.
Excellent. Well, I'm really excited about that. And any clients interested, obviously, reach out to me directly, Jeremy at Osterjewelers.com. And we're going to wrap it up here because we could keep talking for hours. And I want to get you back on for another podcast this season, if you don't mind. And at that point,
the greatest pleasure. When you want.
Yeah, we'll talk about the more technical tourbillon piece, which is coming up, and we'll also talk about the Oster edition with the tantalum guilloche and give everyone a true update and probably a release at that point of what we've come up with. So it'll be very exciting. All right, so we're going to wrap it up. Armand, thank you so much for your time here and your excellence.
Thank you,
Doug, thank you as always. Any last words there, Doug? Any last input, feedback?
Like you said, the website is also amazing. For that SB08 that you teased, Jeremy, it gives you almost everything you need to make it yourself if you had the skills to do that.
I need a truckload of money to make this project, but
yeah, it's cool stuff. All right, well, everybody, thank you for listening. Doug, I'm surprised and shocked you didn't mention to rate and review, but I'm going to do that quickly. If you can share with your friends and everything, that would be great. But thank you, everybody. We will see you again very soon for another episode of Keeping Time with Oster Watches. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.